So my grandpa founded an ice cream company. It's called Baskin Robbins, and it became the world's largest ice cream company. And my dad, John, grew up with an ice cream cone-shaped swimming pool in the backyard. He was groomed to one day join in running the family business, but when he was in his early 20s, he was offered that chance, and he said no when he walked away from a path that was practically paved with gold to, as we jokingly put it in our family, follow his own rocky road.
Welcome to Plant the Change. I'm Michelle Fasnot, founder of Solid Rock, Florida, an innovative nonprofit that includes Solid Rock Community School, providing K-12 education, and the Sanctuary at Solid Rock, offering lifelong care for animals in need. We're a forward-thinking, eco-advanced organization dedicated to compassionate, humane education. Hello, friends. Welcome to Plant the Change. Today, we have a special guest who fosters societal change through education about plant-based healthy living. Ocean Robbins is an American entrepreneur and author, best known for his role as the co-founder of the Food Revolution Network. With more than 1 million members and with the collaboration of many of the top food revolutionary leaders of our times, Food Revolution Network aims to change the way the world eats. Ocean Robbins is the son of John Robbins, author of Diet for a New America. When this book came out in 1987, it was one of the first blockbuster best-selling books about the benefits of a whole foods, plant-based diet. Ocean Robbins is also the grandson of Baskin Robbins co-founder Irvin Robbins. Ocean spent much of his early life advocating for environmental change. At the age of only 15, he co-founded the Creating Our Future speaking tour, which aimed to empower students for environmental change and included presentations at the United Nations. In 1990, Robbins founded the nonprofit organization Youth for Environmental Sanity, YES, to continue his mission of advocating for sustainability and social justice. In 2012, Ocean Robbins co-founded Food Revolution Network alongside his father, and in 2020, his book 31 Day Food Revolution debuted as a bestseller. Welcome, Ocean, to Plant the Change.
Okay.
We want to know how you became so inspired to help others at such a young age. So we would love for you to tell us about how you grew up and the influence your grandfather and your father had on you. So basically, it's like a little bit of your life story.
All right. Well, let's go back a couple generations. So my grandpa founded an ice cream company. It's called Baskin Robbins, and it became the world's largest ice cream company. And my dad, John, grew up with an ice cream cone-shaped swimming pool in the backyard and 31 flavors of ice cream in the freezer. He was groomed to one day join in running the family business, but when he was in his early 20s, he was offered that chance, and he said no when he walked away from a path that was practically paved with gold and with ice cream to, as we jokingly put it in our family, follow his own rocky road. And he ended up moving with my mom to a little island off the coast of Canada. They built a one-room log cabin, grew most of their own food, practiced yoga and meditation for several hours a day, and named their kid Ocean. That was me. And they almost named me Kale, by the way, and this is way before kale was cool. But we did eat a lot of kale and cabbage and carrots and other veggies from the garden. And as I got a little older, my dad researched the food industry in which he'd grown up and wound up coming out in 1987 with a book called Diet for a New America, which became this runaway bestseller and inspired millions of people to look at their food choices as a chance to make a difference for their health and for the planet. And one of his readers ended up being my grandpa Irv. He had lost his brother-in-law and business partner Bert Baskin to heart disease when my dad's uncle Bert was 54 years old. And now my grandpa, around the age of 70, was facing serious diabetes, heart disease, weight issues. His doctors told him he didn't have long to live unless he made some big changes. They gave him a copy of the book Diet for New America, written by his renegade son. My grandpa was still pretty mad about my dad's choice to leave the company, but he wanted to live. So he read the book, wound up following its advice, and he cut way down on sugar and processed foods, cut way down on animal products, started eating way more whole plant foods, gave up ice cream, wound up reversing his diabetes, reversing his heart disease, losing a bunch of weight. His favorite part was that his golf game improved 7 strokes. My favorite part was that he lived 19 more healthy years and that we got to have some precious time together. And so we've really seen in our family how powerful food can be to harm us or to heal us, and what a difference it can make when we make conscious food choices.
Well, your dad really took on a pivotal change in life that most people wouldn't do. I mean, that's really pretty amazing. And it's amazing how he's inspired you. I love that. What would you say was your biggest connection and learning experiences from your father?
Well, early on, living in this one-room log cabin, my dad had walked away from a life of immense wealth. Any trust fund, any access to the family wealth, to become a hermit and a hippie, with my mom.
Hi, friends. Your support can help make the difference by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the Plant the Change podcast. You can also visit us at solidrockflorida.org to learn more about Solid Rock Community School and the Sanctuary at Solid Rock. Your support makes a real impact, and it helps plant the change.
One of the core values that he used to share with me, he used to quote Thoreau, "I make myself rich by making my wants few." We live in a consumerist society where so many of us feel like we need to have more stuff to fill empty gaps and holes inside us. And at the end of the day, I think love, relationships, self-awareness, these are all things that can't be bought or sold. And they are truly the cornerstones of happiness. And so is health, and you can't buy health from a drugstore. Health comes from the choices we make and the actions we take and the ways that we live. So my dad used to also say food is nourishment, not just entertainment. When we look at food as a way to get a titillating moment of distraction from our suffering or a bit of pleasure in a bleak day, that's meaningful and beautiful in its own way. But I think that in a deeper way, food nourishes us in a way that helps us to have less bleak days, to have more vitality and pleasure and joy. And there's a lot more pleasure in simple foods that make us healthy and vibrant and alive, that help our taste buds come to life, that help our energy to be vibrant and us to fulfill the purposes for which we took birth, than just to have a moment of pleasure followed by a day of suffering and bloating and pain. So I'm really interested to this day in how we can make food a true expression of our integrity, our values, and our love of life. And also how we can reclaim our priorities so that instead of focusing on getting more of what we don't have, we focus on making a difference with what we do have.
Oh my gosh, everything you just said was so amazing. I love it. It was so perfect. Just what your dad did, the choices he made, and the way that he raised you was so amazing. That is just, it's so important for people to hear those things, because people are making decisions every day that don't necessarily align with what they really believe. And your dad did that. And I think that is so inspirational and influential. So I love that. And I love hearing you speak about it.
It feels like as a society, we've made money more important than health, than the survival of the planet, than our basic integrity. We talk about making a killing, but I'm interested in making a living. I'm interested in, but money is awesome. We need it, right? It can do wonderful things, and it's a tool towards a greater end, not an end in itself. And I think similarly with food, like food is awesome. Let's have as much pleasure and culinary deliciousness as possible in our lives. And it's for a purpose. It's to nourish us. It's to help us to thrive. And when you give your body the right fuel, everything gets better.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What would you say the impact of Diet for a New America had on the country and you personally?
So in the 5 years after Diet for a New America came out in 1987, beef consumption in the United States dropped by about 20%. And it was part of a cultural zeitgeist of the time where people were realizing how impactful food could be on the planet as well as on their own health. And there was this kind of awakening spreading. And things have gone through their ebbs and flows since then. When Diet for New America came out, the word vegan, nobody knew what it was in the US. It came from Britain, and people called them vegans. And, it's since become a lot more popularized. And at that time, there was no, regenerative, wasn't even in the language of our times. Grass-fed beef wasn't even a thing. So a lot of what it did was expose the horrors of factory farms. And that created a whole new range of people looking at how do we produce food differently. But also a lot of people said, I don't want to be a part of this industry at all. And, the meat industry was quite upset. There was a campaign at one point, my family's address was published, and we were receiving manure packets from farmers across the U.S. in the mail. We of course just put them in our compost pile, took it as a little contribution to the organic matter in our garden. But obviously the intent wasn't kind, and there were death threats. And I learned later there were death threats against me. I didn't know that at the time. My dad didn't tell me, but I can remember riding the bus to school and composing in my mind an imaginary press release. If my father's life was taken, being very clear that our family was passionate about a movement, and it was bigger than any one person. And so that sense of purpose and conviction has really carried through my life ever since then. That George Bernard Shaw talked about being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. And I really believe that as I became aware at a young age of the power food can have to harm or heal us, that felt like a purpose that was bigger than me. And my life has been given over to that. And I love that.
All we can do is give information. And gosh, the resistance and hate that comes from that is pretty shocking.
Anytime you try to change a status quo, you're upsetting the interests of those who are profiting from or invested in or attached to the norms that make sense to them. And we all have an incredible capacity to justify and organize around what makes sense to us. So challenging that is difficult. My dad used to say when he was on tour, he used to say, I'd sometimes think that I'd encounter less resistance if instead of encouraging people to go plant-based, I was encouraging them to have sex change operations. Because it's so personal, right? There's so much this is who I am, what we eat, our culture, our values, our norms. And so challenging that is really upsetting to some people. And yet, this is a toxic food culture that's killing us. And at the end of the day, you've experienced suffering that comes when you don't feed your body what it needs. Mm-hmm. I love the sense of being a part of a movement that's helping galvanize and inspire others. And now the whole foods plant-based movement is the terminology we use now. It's so widespread and it's so potent. And all over the world, people are rising up and speaking out and standing up and reinventing our definition of what food can be. Food 1.0, I think, is about survival. If you can get enough calories to fill your belly, that is success. And for many people in the world, that's the central goal of food. Food 2.0 is about commerce. It's about the buying and selling of goods. And it's brought us a huge range of options. Consumer is king, but it has no moral compass, and it's killing us. And food 3.0, I think, is about health for our bodies and health for our planet. And there's healthy profits in food 3.0. It's just that they come from healthy food.
No, that's all amazing. I love that food 2.0 where you said there's no moral compass.
Yeah.
I think I talk about that all the time. There should be a moral compass, and it is definitely something that we see missing in society in many different areas. So now, when you originally co-founded the Food Revolution Network alongside of your father, and that was in 2012, I believe.
Yep.
What were you hoping to accomplish at that point?
When we first started Food Revolution Network, our mission then, as it is now, is healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all. Honestly, we want to change the way the world eats. I didn't know at that time that we'd grow to now have over 1 million members and put on programs that reach hundreds of thousands of people. I just hoped we could do some good. The movement has grown and Food Revolution Network has grown, and I'm humbled and honored to be able to work with an incredible team. We have 27 staff all over the world, but our mission is the same.
So tell us about the documentary films that Food Revolution has been involved with. And are your documentaries as effective today as they were previously?
I think a good movie really can change the world because a good movie touches the heart as well as the mind. There's the saying that people don't remember what you tell them, they remember what you make them feel. And I think that a good movie makes people feel something. And that feeling is critical to creating change, because very rarely do we do something just because we know we should. We do something because we feel motivated from the inside out, especially a habit change, especially a habit change as deep as changing what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many headwinds in a toxic food culture that push us in a direction where, junk food is normalized and advertised and subsidized and mainstreamized. And in that context, it feels like fighting an uphill battle just to eat a healthy meal sometimes. But I think that a good film can help inspire us at a deeper level of beingness. It lends in our body in a certain way. And that's where ultimately choices often come from, I think. Food Revolution Network, our biggest media production is our annual Food Revolution Summit, where we interview leading food experts and create a documentary series, like a 12-hour or so docuseries, and share that every year with the world. But we also are involved in working in collaboration with various filmmakers, and there's a number of films that we've created, or what are called online funnels around, where people can enter their name and email and watch it for a limited time for free. And then there's like a next step impact kit or upgrade kit if people want to go deeper with the message of the film, with recipes and courses and other resources to really implement what they've learned and take action in their lives. So there's a film called The Need to Grow that looks at regenerative agriculture and sort of alternative solutions for healing the planet through the lens of 3 very different stories of people who are up to something big in the world. There's a film called From Food to Freedom that focuses on reversing type 2 diabetes and looks at a specific intervention, a group of people who spent a week, they were all really sick, and they see if they could learn how to get healthy. And that's the kind of the centerpiece for the story. And Eating for Tomorrow, which looks at the environmental impact of food in a really big, devastating, and inspiring way. It shows you what's at stake and what's possible. Fantastic Fungi is another one, which we just saw and we were like, this is an incredible movie. Let's build a whole online launch around it so we can get it out to more people. It looks at mushrooms and the power of mushrooms to heal lives and heal ecosystems and help heal the planet. And so these are all films that we've been involved with and that we help to bring out. And from our website, folks can, watch any of them for free for a limited time. And we brought in impact kits because I think a good movie doesn't just leave you with good feelings, but it helps you change your life. So in every case, there's an impact kit to kind of implement.
Your book is titled 31-Day Food Revolution, Heal Your Body, Feel Great, and Transform Your World. What are the takeaway lessons you really hope that readers will take from it?
31-Day Food Revolution has 4 parts. So part 1 is detoxify. You focus on getting rid of the bad stuff. Part 2 is nourish. It's like, really, how do you nourish your body optimally and wonderfully with the good stuff? Part 3 is gather. We look at the community side. How do we build a healthy food culture that can sustain us and support us? And then part 4 is transform. It's how to be an agent of change on the planet. And so those are really the essential pieces. It's like, put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. And then, for goodness sakes, help others, because I think that's how we build a food revolution that's restorative. And honestly, when you help others eat better, you also create a social support network for yourself too. So it's a positive feedback loop. So that's kind of the thesis of it. And every chapter ends with 3 simple action steps you can take, kind of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. There's 31 chapters. The 31 chapters is based on the notion that, my grandpa started 31 flavors ice cream. And, I'm saying in the long run, these 31 steps to health can bring you more pleasure and more joy even than 31 flavors of ice cream ever could. So that's kind of the thesis of it. And 31-Day Food Revolution I had a great time writing it. I've also got a new book out, just out, Powered by Plants, nutrient-loaded 30-minute meals to help you thrive. And this goes deep into plant-powered nutrition, but it's also a recipe book. So the recipes are all ones you can make in 30 minutes or less. And they're super nutrient dense. So we're looking at how you can get your nutritional needs met from foods and from whole plant foods, and which are the ones to feature And then we show you how to love it so you can really fall in love with foods that love you back.
Your story is great. And listening to you talk about your dad and what he did to you as a family, I just want to like sit down over lunch with you and just talk about that for hours. I just want to listen to you talk. That people just don't do things like that. I assume you realize that now, right? What your dad did was really different. It was very risky.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, like anybody, I didn't have a perfect childhood, and we had our challenges. And I feel like my dad was blazing a trail. Sometimes trailblazing is messy, but it's also how we get to a new place. And, his trail has always been guided by, a passion for service and for health and for the well-being of all. And I'm deeply grateful for that. I've been thinking a lot about the sort of the legacy that he's left me, that I want to leave for my kids. Like, what is it that we stand for? What do we value, in life? And what do we pass on, And at a core level, I feel like he's always sought to be an evolutionary, passed on the best of what he learned to me, and hopefully didn't pass on the worst, Trial and error, experimentation, discovery.
Absolutely.
And, our family was taking cold plunges, fill up a child's wading pool and put it outside and jump in it after a shower. We didn't know about the science that's coming out now that shows how hormesis can be beneficial for human health. My parents just felt more alive when they did that, and they felt like that had to be good for us, even in the Canadian winter. And there's so many things that I grew up in, like love of fitness and exercise, that were more about like what made sense. We didn't have the research then that we do now. Whole foods diets. It wasn't because it was a research-backed thing back then. It was because it just made sense at some intuitive level. And it turns out now the science is backing it up and showing us the incredible potency of some of these practices.
Yeah, I know. It is interesting because you were going on gut feelings and what you believed, and now we have the science and proof to show that this is best. And we really hope that people are listening to those things. And where do people find that information from you?
If you go to foodrevolution.org, you can find our various resources. Yeah, and then get on our email list, and we share. We have so many resources. We have master classes and paid courses and free resources and hundreds of articles on our website. And of course, our annual summit and a coaching certification for folks who are interested in being plant-based coaches. If you go to certification.foodrevolution.org, you can find out about that. That's an incredible program. We want to help mobilize a grassroots army of food revolutionaries to help people actually implement powerful results in their lives, because there's a difference between knowing what to do and doing what you know. And sometimes coaching can bridge that gap for people.
Thank you so much, Ocean, and everyone have a wonderful day. The Plant the Change podcast explores how education drives societal transformation, nurturing compassionate and responsible citizens, and plants the seeds of change for a better tomorrow. At Solid Rock, Florida, we're a nonprofit committed to compassionate, humane education, an approach that blends academic excellence, ethical responsibility, and emotional growth. We're doing something unique, and we need your support to expand our impact and strengthen our efforts to create lasting change. Visit solidrockflorida.org and click the donate button at the top of the page to see our current initiatives. You choose where your contribution goes, and every tax-deductible donation, no matter the amount, is greatly appreciated. Show your support and stay updated on future episodes and initiatives by following Plant the Change on YouTube and Solid Rock on Facebook and Instagram, at Solid Rock Community School, and at Sanctuary at Solid Rock. Together, we can redefine the future of education and create a world that's guided by compassion and ethical responsibility. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep making a difference.